anything, kids. Otherwise, there'll be too much information at this point. Right? So basically, just for now, you all should know is everyone can move from one country to another country freely without any restrictions. So Article 21(1) gives the right to all citizens. Before, only people who were going for work or to provide services or self-employed can move from one country to another country. Okay, so now write any EU citizen. But the problem is after Article 21(1) was passed in 1993, they didn't pass any secondary legislation to expand on it. So they thought that Article 21 has only symbolic effect. Right? They thought it had only symbolic effect. But later, you can see ECJ gave it full meaning. So, right under 45 is freedom of workers. I'll explain. 49 is self-employed. 56 is service providers. 56 is service provider. 49. Then, okay. So remember, they first thought free movement and residence was restricted to only those under 45. That is, only workers, self-employed people, and service providers can move freely and stay in other countries. But that's no longer so. If you're a EU citizen, you can move and reside. So remember that Article 21 has direct effect, right? Direct effect is where you can go before national courts and enforce your rights, EU law rights. What do you mean by national courts? So now say you're a EU citizen and France restricts your rights, or Italy, or Germany, then you can go before their courts and enforce your rights. So direct effect is the ability to directly go before national courts and enforce your rights. Okay? Right. So in the case of bombast only, they said Article 21(1) has direct effect. So now this case bombast is important for a few reasons, right? So in the case of bombast, right, we have Mr. Bombast. So before I get to that, remember that if you are a EU citizen, right, listen very carefully. If you're a EU citizen, when you move from one member state to another member state, you can take your family members with you, right? So these family members can be EU citizens or TCNs.
Other family members doesn't need to be
EU citizens. So say when the tortoise goes from one member state to another member state, the tortoise can take their shell wherever the tortoise goes. So like that, so think the EU citizen is a tortoise. So wherever the tortoise goes, the tortoise can take their share. So wherever the EU citizen goes, can take their family members, whether they are from the EU or outside the EU. So the Spanish man wants to take her to honeymoon to Italy, right? She doesn't need any visas. She can piggyback. So, but wherever he goes, she goes. She can't go without him. She can't go, right? So, in the case of bombast, a very good example of all of that. So, bombast only said that Article 21(1) has direct effect. So, here we have Mr. Bombast. He's a German national. So, is he a EU citizen or non-EU citizen? He's from Germany. Is he a EU citizen or non-EU citizen? Mr. Bombast, an EU citizen. He was married to a Colombian. Sorry, because he's from Colombia. So where is she? Is she a EU citizen or non-EU citizen? Non-EU. Very good. Okay. Right. So his wife was a TCN. The wife had a daughter from a previous relationship. Means his stepdaughter. Stepdaughter was also a TCN. Then Mr. and Mrs. Bombast had a child together. She was German Colombian. So she's a EU citizen. So we have Mr. Bombast, EU citizen. Wife, TCN, stepdaughter, TCN. Mr. and Mrs. Bombast's child who was a EU citizen. So when Mr. Bombast, he went to the UK. Under Article 21(1), he moved to the UK. Right? So when he went to the UK, he was able to take his whole family. Because he can be accompanied by his family members. So over 3 years, he was working there, right, as a worker or self-employed. But after 3 years, he had to leave the EU. So the tortoise has left. So the tortoise has left. The question is whether the shell can stay. Shell meaning the stepchild, the child, and the wife. So under EU law, the children of a EU citizen, that stepchild as well, the children of a EU worker have the right to stay in the host state, right, and study there even after the worker left. So the stepchild and the child had the right to stay in the UK and complete their studies even though he left. So the children were sorted. Then Mrs. Bombas. The question is, how can she, right? So the question is, what about the mother, right? How can she stay, right? Without the husband, without the primary EU citizen, right? So then
Bombast is the mother.
Mrs. Bombast. Mrs. Mom, Mr. Mrs. So the question is, how can Mrs. Bombast stay? So here then under, right, all these facts are in the later in the note, but I'm giving you a little extra. So when I teach you all again, it's there, right? So here under under EU law, right, the children of a worker, right, the children of a worker have a right to education under the best possible conditions. Best possible conditions. So the best possible conditions is to have your mother with you or to stay in a hostel. Have your mother. So she was given a right of residence to stay with the children as their primary care. Means to stay and look after them. Right? So here she was allowed to stay. So this case is important for 2 reasons. One is Article 21(1) has direct effect, and the concept of primary care where a parent is allowed to stay, right, given a right to stay in order to look after the children. So the case of Chen also said that Article 21(1) has direct effect. So Bombast says Article 21(1) has direct effect. Anyone holding the nationality of a member state has the right to move and reside in any member state, and it's directly effective. So this is very important because those days you have to show that you're moving for some economic activity. Means you're going for work, self-employed, service provider. Okay, so Article 21(1) allows a variety of people to move and reside. They move from one member state to another member state. But now people who are unemployed, students, children, right, retired, all those people can go from one member state to another member state and stay there. But if you are moving and residing, right, the beneficiaries of this right of residence, that means people who move and reside, they can't be an unreasonable burden on the public finances. And unreasonable burden is, now say I am qualified lawyer, right, mother of one, I am earning, right, but I move into my parents' house. They pay for my electricity, they pay for the water bill, they pay for my driver, transport, everything. On top of that, I ask them pocket money also, right? Am I a reasonable burden or unreasonable burden? Unreasonable burden, very good. Say that I am living with my parents, right? I pay this for 50-50 for all my expenses, right? Right, I pay for my expenses, right? And is it Yutira? Okay. Sajid? No, Sajid. Then who?
The girl.
Tarushi? This crack creature. I taught a sister also.
Aki also.
Aki, I finished the syllabus in the weekend, public law.
What?
I don't get hydrology, I don't get any normal students. Yes, Manisha also came first week of April. Right, sorry. So now I say I live with my parents, right? I live with my parents. I pay 50-50 for all the expenses, like electricity, water, whatever. 1 month I'm a little stuck, right? And I ask them for a loan. Am I a reasonable burden or unreasonable burden?
Yes.
Reasonable burden. So just remember, just because you ask for a EU citizen asks for financial help doesn't make them an unreasonable burden. Right? So that's when a lot of cases they're given like social security and other financial benefits. So like child raising allowance, tied over allowance, student loan. So just because they need financial help doesn't make them an unreasonable burden. So in the case of Bray, they said just because they asked for a benefit doesn't make them an unreasonable burden. So in the case of Bray, they confirmed Trojani and said just because a person is not expelled, they should get equal treatment to benefits. Right? But remember this case of Dano. Right? Listen very carefully. Say an economically inactive person. What do you mean by economically inactive? Is a person who isn't working, who is not working. They're not planning to work either. Okay? They're not working like our politicians in our country. Right? They are not, right? If you all have any political affiliations, please don't send a white van to take me. I scold all the politicians, okay? Right? So, then Petra look na in. I can scold. So here, an economically inactive person who has entered the host state, they have gone to that country just to get benefits. Then in that case, it's not a breach of EU law for the host state to refuse the benefit. Now say, I have never worked. I am not planning to work. I am French. I have gone to Italy nicely to get their benefits. They are free education, they are free healthcare, whatever. I'm planning to go and nicely pluck. Then it is not a breach of EU law for them to refuse.
It's
Not a breach. Now say that Sakir is a qualified lawyer. Sakir is 25 years old. He has never worked, he is not planning to work. He moves in with his parents, not because he loves them, but he wants, no problem, Ashwini, he's solely to live off their wealth. Then is it unfair for them to say no? No, right? Is it unfair for the parents to say no? He's 25 years old. He's not planning to work. He doesn't want to work. It's not unfair. So think of that. The person from another country is going to that country. They're not planning to work. They're not planning to do anything. Now he's still planning to live off that country's benefits. And it's not a breach of EU law for them to refuse. Right? So that's the case of Dano. So Miss Dana was a Romanian national who entered Germany. Several years she was living in the apartment of the sister, who was giving her food and lodging. She was staying there. She had not planned to work. She had not worked, nor was she planning to work. She had not worked in Romania, where she came from, nor was she planning to work in Germany, where she went. She didn't come to Germany to look for work, nor was she actively seeking for work. Right? So then she asked for social benefits. She asked for subsistence benefits and social allowances, right? And accommodation and heating costs for her son. So in this case, they said this 2004 directive I'll be teaching you all in a bit, right? Basically say EU law, right? Say EU law is there to prevent economically inactive people from using that country's welfare system to fund their living. A member state can refuse social benefits to economically inactive people who have come there solely to get their benefits. Okay, so now I'm going to teach you all this 2004 directive in a little bit.